Okay, it's recording for your feedback. I'll leave you all.
Oh, okay. It's on?
It's on.
Okay. Sorry. Let me separate. Where's my pen? Okay. Feedback. Step 6. Okay, so, all right, so we'll do pluses first. So do you want to do your pluses and then I'll do my pluses? Oh, you do your pluses and I give you pluses. If you want to go first, or I can go first.
I can get my head back down. I'm trying to remember.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, so, sorry Tracy, we haven't like written these down. We're extroverting as we talk. Okay, so my pluses, I think I was good at some like feelings and values and like trying to like support you in ones that that ones like I didn't hear. So as I went through my chart, like I was checking off as like you said things, and then things that were left, I was like, okay, let me find a way to reflect those back. So I think I did a good job with that. I think I asked 2 open-ended questions about like doing a reflection and then tell me about your rent agreement or the lease to what was his name? Purdy. And then to Ramona about what's it like living in the house for her. And let's see. The interruption about the lawsuit during the opening statement, of course it like threw me off a bit, but yeah, I don't know if I navigated that. That's not a plus. I think that's a change. I need to rewatch that, how I responded. I think I was a little helpful in capturing things from brainstorming and language and being thorough in that. I try not to say so many, sometimes I have a tendency to say like, yeah, after I've reflected back and they've confirmed that that was correct. And so I don't think I did that, but I need to watch the video to check. I think framing the topics I did all right on. Yeah.
Yeah, my pluses for you are similar. I thought you did a good job with process mapping and just kind of responding to the process questions and when they came up, concerns that participants had. I also think you did a really good job with reflecting and framing topics. For myself,
Hold on, I think I have to give myself deltas and then you give me deltas and we'll switch.
oh,
For yeah. So my deltas.
okay. Yeah.
So my deltas, I smiled and laughed a lot just because I know Jabari and Jules and they're really funny. And yeah, I usually don't do that, but I did it in this one and need to be mindful of that. The opening statement, the lawsuit thing threw me a little off. I tried to reflect back, like a feeling or value, and then provide information, but not sure if I did that right. I definitely missed the number, like, you had some really good feelings and values that you captured that I didn't get. And yeah, originally I missed the topic of marijuana. I thought I was going to list it, but then I thought that would place blame on Ramona. So I didn't list it as a topic, but then when she was like, well, I want it up there, then I was like, okay, well, she's asking for it, then it won't place blame on her. And he was okay with putting it up. So, and then navigating the use and abuse, I'm not sure if I navigated that well at all. Like, or just listing it as marijuana. So
Yeah, you already identified the smiling and laughing piece. I told you I was swallowing mine, and I was very consciously working on that because I thought your body was pretty hilarious. I thought that there could be more like silence. There were some moments where I know you said in the feedback with them that like there was a couple of places where you weren't sure about what to do, and I felt like they needed a moment to think about what some of the things they were putting out there, which also would have given given you a moment as well. I felt like they had more behind some of the things they put out. And I don't know if that's a part of what Jabari was describing when he was saying, because there was some times when there was a really quick response to things and I'm trying to think of an example, but even in the brainstorming when Ramona brought up the concerns at the very end, like I felt like she was processing that was just coming to her in a moment, like she was ticked off that he wasn't agreeing to her stuff, but he wanted to put something else out.
Right, yeah. Because we have there's P's at the end, but everything else is for Ramona and Kate.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And so I was about to go into my deltas, but okay. So that and something else. I did have a question about how to navigate that piece around the abuse with the marijuana, because that was the language she was using. Like I didn't, feel like we should be saying that it was abusive. Like she was saying it in a way that, not that she was saying it, that the dad was saying it, and I wasn't sure about what language to use around it. And so I listed I was trying to make health concerns, without saying marijuana specifically, just for that reason. So those are the basic two things that I have.
I think another plus is we did go back and forth pretty well.
Yeah, I think so.
And I do think we could have, the open communication between the two of us. It's a lot easier when you're across the table from someone than sitting next to someone. And I would also add the delta for me on open-ended questions around and brainstorming that Jules talked about. Of asking what else, what details do you need to make these happen?
Yeah, I think I kind of see, the open-ended question as a plus and a delta, because when you asked them, they were really good open-ended questions. I think there could have been more.
Definitely. Because I think there's a lot of reflection back, but I could have followed up more of them with open-ended questions. It's just a lot to think about.
It is. All right, so for me, for pluses, I didn't written anything, but I do think, I was good with the silence and giving space for that. I felt like I, worked in a sense that we worked well together in terms of, there was a flow of the way that what words to use. I need my
the list.
The list, yeah. But with kind of Jabari described it, volleying back and forth, I felt like we were, I don't know if you were this, but that we were both asking, taking turns and making sure, if I noticed that you were talking more with Jules, I was making sure that I was, giving feedback or reflecting Jabari. And I've been in mediations where it doesn't happen, where the mediators aren't conscious of that happening. And so I thought I did a good job with that as well. I think we both did it. I didn't say that for yours. I feel like I did okay with the reflecting. I wanted to do more of that, like the bigger reflections, more of the full reflection, but I thought I did okay with it.
The first long reflections after they both talked in step 2 was really thorough and good. You had a lot of good feelings and values, and a lot of things that like I didn't find the right words for. You know, some of them I had, and then some I was like, ooh, those are really good words. And yeah, I think we both could have like reflected back some of the topics earlier on in our reflections, because we were just doing feelings and values rather than topics. But I think we did a good job of like listing finances, housework, and marijuana,
topics,
and framing them and
of
getting
that.
consent and
I agree.
like, yeah, I think we did really good.
Which is not usually the place that I'm like, oh
The
yeah,
strongest, like feeling good on.
No,
Yeah.
not usually.
Yeah, and like, so good reflections, and yeah, I know you said you wanted to work on process mapping before we started, and I think you reflected back at least once, right?
Maybe once. That's as far as.
Yeah.
Are you done with the pluses?
No, I have more pluses.
Okay, because that was something I wanted to work on.
I was thinking,
I don't feel like I did enough of that.
Yeah, you have great handwriting.
Oh my God,
really
I'm
easy to
getting
read. A lot better than
not my
mine.
plus.
And yeah, good at getting like consent for abbreviating R and P, and and capturing a lot of it and keeping it organized really well as we went through it. I feel like we had like as good of like communication as we could have for like where we are in our mediator growth for that step 4. And yeah, let me look at other stages of brainstorming. Yeah, I think reflecting more feel. Okay, go ahead. We'll do Delta's. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll add. I didn't even like really think about the brainstorming. Yeah, I definitely feel like I did a better job with brainstorming than I have in the past. I thought we did a really good job on that brainstorming. I was really in my head about the areas that I'm working on and not really even paying attention to like some of these other things we did really well. So for deltas, I think that one of the things I was working on was process mapping, and I just was struggling with it. I was conscious of it, of trying to do it in the mediation, but I don't feel like I did it as much as I would like to have. Also just with also my reflections, I felt like I wish I was able to had done more of that. And I think that for like, I felt normally at the beginning of the mediation, before the pre-mediation, I talk about how I like to be at the table, and I didn't talk to you about that. And for me, one of the things that I like just transparency. I'm not as concerned about the idea of looking professional as much as I am of making sure we're getting it, making sure we're hearing, making sure we're really reflecting, capturing, and all of those kinds of things. So normally I tell people, if you see if I'm going off on something, whatever, like just pull me back. Let's do a sidebar. And I didn't say that, and I think that might have helped us later, like with brainstorming and everything too.
What would that have looked like? Like when you say sidebar?
Well, so really not. Sidebar in terms of like just checking in. Really.
Oh, okay.
Like
okay. But in front of the participants.
Like almost like I think of it like a pause. Like, hold on a minute, let me make sure now, and just whatever the thing is, or if I'm up here and I'm capturing things, or even saying I'm feeling a little, concerned that we're not capturing it all. Can we just make sure that we get? Let me add to a couple of these or something like that. I'm fine with that. So transparency for me, process mapping, transparency in terms of the pre-mediation, doing more process mapping and reflecting, more.
Delta's, I think you were a lot more comfortable with silence than I was. And there was one time where I was trying to work on silence and give them time because like that's what the guide said to do. So I was like, so what other ideas? I like reflected their values around finances. Like, so what other ideas do you have around that? And you were standing there and you had jumped in, like I was like trying to give them time to like respond, and you had like came in with like, I think I heard y'all say before you wanted this, and I feel like I just gave like a longer reflection, and then it kind of, they didn't have time to respond to me. I heard you say, or reflect back, the frustrated, upset, and concerned. You know that? We're not supposed to say this. The FUC. The frustrated, upset, and concerned. And I think
I said all of those?
You said all three of them. At different points.
Oh, it doesn't right. Okay.
And I totally forgot that from training until I did another. What role play was I? Oh, it was at a training, one of our in-service trainings, and I was reflecting frustrated, upset, and concerned, and totally forgot we weren't supposed to reflect those back. But you said to Purdy, I think you were concerned about agreements, and you reflected that you were frustrated with cleanliness of the house, or Purdy was frustrated with cleanliness of the house. So, you did a good job of, I'm sorry, going back to pluses, but when you said tell me more about depression, your depression, and inviting her into that. And yeah, I think this is like people have ideas, and this is like my own stuff too, like when I'm at the table making my list of what ideas they're sharing to make sure they go up there. But there were a number of things that I felt awkward and how to navigate to tell you, like, oh, add this, and this. So capturing all the ideas.
Yeah. So I definitely rely on that because, like, there were some points, if you notice, some of them I kind of had a half thing because I didn't hear it all.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of very conscious when I'm taking the notes to make sure that I'm getting, I want to use their language, so I don't want to like fill in my own ideas about it, and so you'll see me pause, and so I want that feedback or help.
Yeah.
There was something else that came to me when we were.
We didn't use the mediator log.
No, we didn't use the mediator log. Sorry.
It's okay. There was no issues about safety, additional mediation process questions.
So I was saying, well, this is kind of off the pluses and deltas, or going back to yours. I think like what was happening for me at times, I was still like, looking for opportunities, like especially towards the end. I think that's probably why I jumped in so quickly. Because there were moments where, you were doing a lot of the talking, and I caught myself kind of like sitting back.
Yeah.
And so then I was like looking for, like, I'm catching myself, like, okay, I haven't like reflected or anything in a long time. And so I was looking for opportunities to get in. So there might have been some times where I, kind of jumped in when I saw it just to make sure that I was, making sure that I was doing the reflecting or saying something.
Yeah.
Not sitting too quiet. I think that's everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I think overall.
Yeah, we did good.
It's been a while since we mediated together.
I know. Good job.
Yeah.
I want to get a picture of us with our agreements, even though this one's not real, so
Right.
it's confidential. Okay.
Let me stop this.
Yeah.
I think Chrissy wants to If I know how to.
Do you know how to turn it off?
The worst thing is that.
It says it's recording.
Is it right here?